Hey everybody, welcome to 30 Ways to Happy Days. I am Alana Yvonne from Truly Great Life, and we are on way number 19. Way number 19 is the character strength of bravery. Now, if you've been coming along for the ride since way number 1, awesome. If you haven't, I highly recommend you check out ways 1 and 2. They are foundational to the rest of the ways. And just know that all the ways we're talking about, at least 24 of them, I should say, are these character strengths that were kind of codified from positive psychology based on thousands of years of evaluating philosophy and religion and history and different ways of understanding what makes for a good life and what enables people to thrive and what are those ingredients, and just kind of understanding what are the elements or the traits or the tools or the variables that can be learned and can be accessed by everybody, that are consistent throughout different cultures, different religions, different ways of just everyone in humanity has these 24 character strengths. And like muscles, you may not be aware that you have them. And like muscles, you may not use them, or all of them. You may use some more than others. So that's kind of the very quick overall explanation of what we're going through here. And that was just a little review. If you have been sticking with me from the beginning, thank you. So jumping in, way number 19. This is the character strength of bravery. Bravery. So what does bravery mean to you? Well, like with the other ways, let's jump into the definition. Okay, so bravery. Bravery. What do you do that helps you feel brave? Or what do you do that you feel you'd like to have more bravery or be more brave in? All right, well, let's jump into the definition. Bravery can be defined as you do not avoid challenges. You do not avoid difficult situations. When you are tackling a challenge or a situation that's a little uncomfortable, you may not have thought about it this way, but you are exercising that bravery muscle. You speak for what's right, okay? Even if others disagree with you. Have you ever been in a respectful argument? And I'm specifically putting in the word respectful, where we can agree to disagree. But if you've ever been in that kind of situation where you have a disagreement with someone and it doesn't devolve into this screaming match, let's say, you are using also, one can say, the muscle, the character strength of bravery, because we are wired to want to get along with the herd, right? For survival's sake, if we go back millennia enough, and how we kind of evolved, we couldn't survive without the group, right? So we're wired to look for the negative, we're wired to look for danger because of survival, historically, right? And same with, bravery, when it comes to this example of, saying what you think is right, doing what you think is right, even if you're the only one, or even if others disagree with you. That feels scary and, uses bravery because, again, we're wired to go along with the crowd. Okay, we're wired for survival's sake to kind of have the safety of the group. So something to think about. The other way we can describe bravery is you're not afraid to face your fears. Or you could say you are afraid to face the fears, but you do it anyway, right? One can say bravery is feeling the fear and doing it anyway, or pushing through. And we talked earlier about perseverance, right? We talked about all these other ways to happy days, and these can go along with bravery as well. And it's partly making up courage, right? Courage, which has that root word of la coeur, which is heart in French. Like courage is having heart, right? When you are courageous, when you have courage, when you're tapping into that with bravery and perseverance, persistence, you're reaching in deeper, right? We can be, let's say, we can use the character strength of bravery and do something stupid. Right? Anyone who's gone through and survived teenagerhood, raise your hand if you've done something stupid that you thought was brave. Not gonna divulge that here, but the whole point is bravery doesn't necessarily mean that you're not doing stupid things, right? So what we want to do is use bravery for not so stupid things. Okay? We want to use bravery and bring a little heart to it, right? We want to tap into that virtue of courage to go through something that, and again, this ties to meaning, something that is meaningful, So when you know why you're doing what you're doing, or what solution or what problem are you trying to solve, right? So if you're doing, I'm kind of stuck on the teenage thing now, but like why, we can describe it, brain science wise by saying the prefrontal cortex isn't yet developed fully until 25, I think it is. So we're still operating from like, our limbic system, our animal brain, our reptilian brain, and we're just, motivated to do things that don't necessarily make a lot of sense when you're older or even then, but we're motivated for different reasons to do it, and bravery totally plays a role there. So the question becomes, how can we, use bravery in a way that will have outcomes tied to our ideal self, right? We're talking about ways to happy days. So if you use bravery to do something that may ruin your life or may make it a little more difficult or may injure you, this is for you to figure out. And, everyone has their own values and what they're trying to achieve and why. But, you can kind of stretch it out and use perspective and think, is this really worth using my bravery for? Sometimes bravery is saying no, right? Sometimes bravery is not doing the thing that may impress people in the short term, but then gets you in trouble in the long term. So bravery is an interesting one. Okay. So, it's important when we think about bravery nowadays in our own life, I would encourage you to consider that what requires or where you use your muscle of bravery, the person next to you, whether that's in your family or in your school or at work, may be using their muscle, their strength of bravery for something that for you feels super easy. Like, why is that a big deal for you? Why does that scare you? I don't understand. And so, again, as I've mentioned before, like, these character strengths are a wonderful lens for empathy and a wonderful way, like a language, to understand other people, even if it's different from you, right? So if someone is doing something that to you seems like a no-brainer, like in a classroom, for you, maybe it's really easy to get up in front of the class, raise your hand, answer the question, ask a question, answer whatever the teacher asks, get up and present. And maybe you are not using your muscle of bravery because it comes really naturally for you and there's no fear there. You're not uncomfortable, right? You don't need to use it. Maybe you're using zest, or you're using humor, or you're using kindness, or you're using maybe some other strengths, okay? But maybe bravery is not there because it's easy for you. And then there's your classmate who, when it's their turn, you won't see it necessarily unless they're like profusely sweating, but their heart might be beating like it's out of their chest, gonna just like pop out like an alien, if you've seen that movie, and it's terrifying. And for them to get up, even if they stutter, even if they forget, they might do a totally smooth job and no one knows but them that they're terrified. They are full on using that strength of bravery, right? They are doing something that for whatever reason is making they feel uncomfortable. It's difficult, it's challenging, they're afraid. So it's important, and you can think about this at work. You can think about this if you have siblings, if you've got kids, right? Whatever it is, like, everyone has their different definition of what they're afraid of. Everyone has we all have our different challenges, right? And so for us to be more compassionate, supportive human beings in our relationships, assuming that's what you want, right? Assuming that's why you're here, to kind of figure out how to have happier days, both with yourself and with others that you engage with, right? Professionally and personally. Understanding, and you can try to spot it, right? Can you try to spot when someone is using bravery, or to you interpret it as, wow, that's a brave act, whereas for that person it may not be. So I'll give an example. Well, I'll give an example of myself first, and then there's another one I wanted to share. But like me standing here recording these videos as is, totally raw, when I thought about it, terrifying. I thought about this for a while. I thought about creating stuff like this for a very long time, and I'm, for a variety of reasons, I'm doing it now, and I don't have the fear anymore about what happens with this. I'm in this place where, like, it's just my job to get it out there, and that's what I'm focused on. Because my reason and the meaning I get out of it and my why is much greater than my fear of, whatever negative things I was afraid of. No one's going to watch it, or no one's going to care, or people are going to think it's ridiculous, or they're going to judge. And that all may be true, but it doesn't matter to me anymore, in the sense that this is part of me playing in the sandbox I want to play in when it comes to my work and what I do creatively through my work. So that's where it took bravery to get to the point. And then just for a variety of reasons, like, I'm not using bravery as much as I did in the beginning, right? Because I'm in this kind of place where I saw that the world didn't fall apart. I saw some people like it. I know people are listening. So all good, keep going. Let's see what comes next, right? So that's one example for me. Maybe you can think of an example for you where when you started something, when you began a class, or you started college or a new school, or you moved to a new place, or you started a new job, and like that learning curve, right? When we're in that learning curve for work, or in a relationship, or if you're dating, or you are giving birth, or whatever, or joining a team, trying out, going on a stage, presenting, whatever it is, think to something which was new for you, that was scary, that you were scared, you were nervous, and then, choose a time that you got through it, you went through with it, whether or not the outcome was what you wanted. You went through with it, you made it through. You used bravery, right? Can you see where that, like, you are a brave person every time you say yes to life. I would say for some people, getting up in the morning is an act of bravery. For some people, getting out of the house during the day, that is an act of bravery, right? For them to say hi to a stranger at the grocery store is an act of bravery, okay? For them trying something new, whatever it is, it requires bravery. We all have this muscle. So a lot of times, sometimes some of us will say, I'm not brave, or I'm da-da-da, but think of times when you have used bravery. Anytime you did something new, you were using bravery. I would like to suggest. If you want to argue with me, that's awesome. Put it in the comments. Let me know. Reach out to me. But I think for us to look at ourselves as people who have that tool in our pocket, right? This bravery strength, it's there. Just start exercising it a little bit. So, again, baby steps all the way. What would be a baby step of bravery for you today? What would kind of push the needle a little bit more towards bravery? Is there something that you're really resisting doing that you have to do? That you're just like, oh, keep procrastinating, or I'll push it down, or whatever. It's uncomfortable, it's difficult for whatever reason, whatever that situation is. Can you look at it from the perspective of, okay, I have this bravery strength. How can I just kind of put it on, and I'm going to be brave. And all that means to be brave is not that I have to get rid of the fear, but I have to do the thing. I have to do the thing. I have to do a piece of the thing, do that thing, right? It's kind of like that eat the frog first idea. Okay, so that's one example, and that I wanted to share was my example of doing this. But the other example I wanted to share, and in thinking about it for this recording, I realized that it's my interpretation, and that this person may not necessarily think that they were doing a brave thing, but I'm going to share it anyways. So at one of the coffee shops I go to, one of the people who works there has some kind of situation. I don't know what it is, not any of my business, but they don't have any hair. Okay, this is a woman who doesn't have any hair. It's a little spotted where hair grows in some parts but not others, and so she shaves it, and she doesn't cover her head, and she just owns it and is working in the coffee place. And I remember, I've seen her a couple times now, and I remember when I first saw it, I was like, damn, that is awesome. Because I don't know if, I would have that. For me, I read it as a sign of bravery. She models bravery. She models a lot of different things, right? A lot of different qualities and characteristics. So I was spotting bravery there. Now, maybe in the beginning, she, when she started working there, whatever her story is, again, I don't know her, she was using bravery to do it and making that decision, I'm not going to wear a cap, or I'm not going to wear a scarf, or I'm not going to wear a wig. I'm going to be me. right? As I am, and people can take it or leave it. And now maybe it's just, again, it's that learning curve. It's that let's try it and see what happens. And can I get through maybe negative looks or comments or questions? It's all good. I mean, and it's an example, again, what's so beautiful, I think, about people in their own way and whatever their situation is, using their strength of bravery to do something that feels uncomfortable, that they're maybe afraid of. And again, maybe it was just in the beginning for her. Now, just like in the beginning for me with these recordings, I use bravery, and now it's like other stuff, right? Because there's no fear there anymore. What are some examples in your life, in your social circle, where you can spot, the character strength of bravery being used? Who in your life? Maybe it's someone who's no longer with us, right? Maybe it's a parent or a grandparent or a sibling. What is a story you have that you know where they demonstrated and used that character strength of bravery? And how can that encourage, see what I did there? Encourage, right? Encourage you to use bravery, okay? Encourage is like with courage, with heart. When you're encouraged, you get that motivation, you have that, you are in your heart, and you're like motivated. Notice it's the heart, not the head, but like you have that motivation to do. So again, what is it you want? Okay? What is it you want? What is it you're trying to do? And if it's something, as I need to take care of some paperwork today, and that's like my least favorite thing to do, and I put it off, but can I use bravery to just go through that? I mean, in the sense of like, suck it up and get through it and get it done. I don't know, maybe there's like a tiny bit of bravery there. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but think for yourself, what would be something to help you get through whatever your fear is, okay? Now, it's also very easy to think of bravery in the more obvious expressions of bravery when we think of, acts of bravery during times of conflict or war, or acts of bravery when there's, God forbid, a tragedy, right? Or God forbid, a fire, and you read about someone who was brave and rushed in to rescue XYZ, right? So you can also, the news is always a little bit of a downer, but if you do decide to consume the news and watch the news or read the news or whatever, like can you put on your glasses of character strengths and say, I'm going to look for the character strength of bravery in this story, right? And you can look for that and look for that. So look for it for yourself. And when you see it in someone else, can you call it? Can you say something about it? Like, that was really cool how you used, you were super brave when you did XYZ or something, just to acknowledge it in someone else and acknowledge it in yourself when you use it, and then use it more and model, you're then giving other people examples in real time or in real life. Just like when you think about people in your family or in your community, or maybe historical figures, or figures in your spiritual practice, that you can see that example of bravery, right? And let that strengthen you, and let that give you strength to be brave in whatever challenges you have. Okay. Just going to look quickly here if there's anything else that I wanted to say. I think one of the ways, for us to help our kids, whether you have your own kids or you work with kids or kids or whatever, to be brave is to know it's okay to fail, and it's okay to make a mistake, right? We're speaking within the realm of like not life, God forbid, disaster mistakes. I'm just saying, like, if you can model and acknowledge when you make a mistake, school, work, in the family, whatever, and you apologize or you own it or whatever it is, you can argue that that's also using the strength of bravery, where you can let your ego get out of the way and you can say, oh man, I really screwed up, or oh, I was wrong, you were right, or oh, I should have taken that way instead of that, now we're stuck, whatever. Just like owning it, because it's modeling, even without kids, right? Just like other human beings that we're in relationships with, we're in community with. When you can own, when you make a mistake, is that an act of bravery? If you can ask for forgiveness, is that an act of bravery? If we don't feel like we need to protect that ego all the time, right? If we're able to be vulnerable, is that an act of bravery? Yeah. So things to think about. And again, there are a lot of movies out there that will be about bravery, right? So choose your favorite movie that shows bravery. Conquering fears, going through hard times. I think any historical fiction, or most historical fiction, books or movies will have some aspect of overcoming a hardship, right? Because history is full of them. And so that could be something that also gives you data points of other people who have made it through difficult times and were brave in various capacities in order to make it through those challenges. And therefore, if it helps you feel like if they did it on some level, maybe I can do it too. It's not going to be the exact same scenario, the exact same situation, but we are full of resources. We are full of these tools. We have these character strengths, these characteristics, these gifts, these abilities to do differently than, we don't have to be on automatic pilot. So with that, I will share a quote. Oh, and there's tons of quotes. All you got to do is look online for quotes about bravery. Find the favorite one that you like, that speaks to you. Put it on a sticky note. Put the sticky note on your mirror in the bathroom. Put it on your phone, wallpaper, whatever you want. Whatever's going to help you make those new, synaptic connections, those new neural pathways towards away from the negative and more towards the positive, just balancing it out a little, okay? So one of my favorite quotes is from one of my favorite movies of all time, which is Baz Luhrmann's first movie. You may know his trilogy, the Red Curtain trilogy. I believe it's the Red Curtain trilogy, he calls it. Anyways, the first one is Strictly Ballroom, and then it was the remake of Romeo and Juliet, and then it was Moulin Rouge. And he just did the Elvis movie. But in any case, from the first one, Strictly Ballroom, which is a great movie, some people think it's a little cheesy. I just love it. It's a great movie. There's the quote there that's in the design of the, whatever, it's kind of the theme of the film, which is a life lived in fear is a life half lived. A life lived in fear is a life half lived. So do you agree? Disagree? Maybe agree a little bit. So again, if we're talking about living our best lives, being at our best to try and have the best experience on this planet that we can in a way that is good and in a way that is fulfilling and meaningful and contributing in whatever way we want to contribute with others to whatever cause, whatever we feel our purpose is here, how can you bring bravery? Because when fear is holding us back, we're not living maybe as fully. Just a thought. And that is it for way number 19. And see you for the next one.